I wanted to squeeze in a quick little get together because today is World Tourism Day, everyone. So I just thought it'd be a chance to have a quick hello. One of my neighbors. I am wandering down the hill as I already have done 2 tours this morning. So it seems appropriate on World Tourism Day. So I'm wandering down the hill because I went out for a morning guided tour that I did, a walking tour at sunrise, which is great fun. And then I did a tour of the Cave and Basin. And now I'm on my way to Calgary with my group. And so should we let my suitcase float down the hill here? Hey, sorry, I was trying to turn the screen around, it wasn't working. So I'm up above. Here's one of our buses coming by. So I think there's a lot to talk. Hopefully you're hearing me okay. Is the sound good? Hi everyone, just make sure volume's on high there. But obviously Banff National Park is very significant to the history of World Tourism Day because we argue that this is the birthplace of modern tourism. And I know that's a huge claim to make. Thank you, Chloe. I did want to surprise everyone. It's so obviously I put these up very last minute. I probably put up a little too last minute because I was in so I had my bicycle down with me this morning, and then I did tour of the Cave and Basin, dropped everyone in town for lunch, so I came back to get my bag and wander down. And so I have a long day. I have this Welsh choir with me. They're lovely people. And I'm gonna drive into Calgary, see some of the sights in there, and then we're going for dinner at the Calgary Tower. So we're really hitting all the tourism signs. But I want to talk about, why this is World Tourism Day, but I'll turn this around. Don't know why, there we go. So this is Otter Street in Banff, and you see the fall colors coming out. But I can just frame some gorgeous mountain views for you up here. Look at that, Cascade Mountain in all its glory. If you've seen some of the pictures I posted from this morning, it was just spectacular, the alpenglow. I'm up by, near where all the campgrounds are in town. Oh, hey, hi there, Michelle. Nice to see you here, my friend. So, World Tourism Day. Why is Banff so significant in this story? Well, I'll make the story a bit shorter because I don't know how long I'll make this little visit today. But the importance of it is the fact that obviously I'm on Treaty 7 territory. People have been living here for thousands of years, and that is extremely important to acknowledge every single time. Look at how we have to manage. This kind of thing is how we manage water and melt coming down. This is a way of subducting water as it comes down during the melt in spring. But we had fresh snow on all the mountains this morning, but it's windy. That's why I took my headphones out. It's probably, 12 degrees Celsius right now. So, yes, the colors are just gorgeous. I just don't want it to be so windy because we'll blow all the leaves off. I wish the wind would just leave them alone. So, sorry for that one. So, the people have lived here for 14,000 years. Then, after Russia was beaten up in the Crimean War, they wanted to offload debt, and they offered to sell Alyeska, or Alaska. And they weren't going to try and sell it to the British because they just had a war with the British. They first offered it to tiny Liechtenstein, who almost bought it and then realized that probably wasn't the best idea. Have a look at the Massif Range in the distance there. And then William Seward, Secretary of State for the United States after World War II. Let's take the stairs, shall we, everyone? See, I've got these stairs that are set up here. So he offered to buy it for about 2 cents an acre. They call it Seward's Folly. And the United States sets out to purchase Alaska, and the response from the United Canadas, Upper and Lower Canada, Ontario and Quebec, I love coming down these stairs in the winter when it's about minus 40, it's so clear. They reach out to this nascent colony in the far west, which had just in 1866 become British Columbia. It had been Vancouver Island, New Caledonia, and they had a gold rush, a massive one up to Barkerville up in the Caribou country. They said that yes, they would like to be part of a British Dominion within North America, but and they wanted that even though most of the miners were actually American or had come through the States. It's because they liked the policing of the claims. So it was quite a significant thing. But they said they would join this British Dominion if it were united by a train. By the way, that smaller mountain in front of me is Stony Lookout Mountain. I do have some videos here on YouTube from that one. So The Canada's created 1867, just before the creation or the purchase of Alaska. Hiya. Good morning. Just before the purchase of Alaska was completed. And they then set about, first of all, purchasing the land between British Columbia and what is Ontario now. And that was all owned by the Hudson's Bay Company, which got its charter from King Charles II in 1670, 200 years of fur trade. So, good morning, or afternoon now. And they set about building the train across the prairies. And as they did so, they chugged along at about 5 miles a day. Hey, Alec, that's good. See, we message all the tour guide friends we have around the world to tell them that we're having a world tourism celebration. I can see that you guys are still busy up there in Scotland. Our season is still really busy down here. So the trains arrive here and they whack into the mountain that I'm walking down. By the way, this is all conglomerate rock right here. 5 miles a day was massive. This is all, of course, river rock and compressed. Well, that's really why we have the turquoise in the rivers. That's all the ground up mountains. So even if you've done lots of virtual tours with me, you may not have walked down here before. And see, I'm even carrying my luggage. That's me just walking out to work in the tourism world. So they come in here and they whack into the mountains, and the construction goes from being fairly easy to extremely difficult. Look at our retaining walls here, all very significant for any construction, particularly in the soft limestone that we have here. So they run into the mountains. Construction becomes extremely difficult. And again, I can give an hour-long talk about this, so I won't bore you to that extent. But I will say the gentleman in charge of building the trains here, William Cornelius Van Horn, who was from Chicago and had built trains elsewhere in the States, he looks around, and the phrase we repeat to this day, and what is so relevant about this day, is he says, if I cannot export the scenery, I will import the tourists. And he said, I will build a castle in the mountains, and that becomes the Banff Springs Hotel. And of course, why Banff? Well, the first president of Canadian Pacific and the first president, incidentally, of the Bank of Montreal, Sir George Stephen, was from Banffshire in Scotland. So that's the connection. And of course, a lot of Scottish names here in a colonial sense. Really French and Scottish. Colonial Canada was French and Scottish in many ways, to, of course, the detriment of Indigenous Canada. And that's a long and complicated story. But I'm down in Tatanga right now. And Tatanga is a neighborhood, I really love this neighborhood, but Tatanga means buffalo or bison in the Stoney language. And that's why I'm on Sleeping Buffalo Mountain. So they set about building their castle in the mountains. And in doing so, the trains were a success. People came to stay, it paid for the trains. They created national parks the whole way west through here. Maybe we should, so I can go down Antelope or I can go left on Deer. Why don't we go across Deer Street for one more block and then we'll head down onto Banff Avenue. Banff Avenue's down the distance. So by the way, I'm up above, can't really see it, but the Canoe Hotel, it's the far end of Banff Avenue. They have been renovating that hotel now for 4 years. I bet you they have spent $1 billion. Like, it is a massive, massive bit of construction. About 2/3 of it is open. But they built the Banff Springs, it was successful. And then they build, those are the ski runs at Mount Norquay up in the distance there. And then they build Chateau Lake Louise and the Chateau Frontenac, which is considered the most photographed hotel in the world. And then eventually Hotel Vancouver, the Hotel Laurier, the Royal York, and the Empress out in Victoria. And so those trains are financed by tourism to Little Banff here. So World Tourism Day very arguably has come from the development of this community. Now, you haven't wandered down neighborhoods with me too much down here. You will see you've got your very classic log cabin style, which is very typical of Western North America or Turtle Island where we are here. But the next one, you get that very distinct Swiss look. So in the 1890s, Canadian Pacific brought out Swiss mountain guides to ostensibly open the mountains for the tourists. And so people have been guiding here since the 1890s. So I come from a long line of tourism. In fact, you remember back to the start of the pandemic, of course, unemployment here was 79% because everything is tourism, needless to say. Yeah, very Swiss looking. About 600 families in our valley. And our valley is about 30,000, well, if we count Jasper, 30,000 people altogether. And so about 600 families have Swiss roots. And, and as I always say, people ask me how I feel about Switzerland, and I say kind of neutral. But it's a country you can bank on. I know, it's a predictable joke. But the wind has just been howling. Tonight, it will drop to freezing overnight, but it'll be right back up to 14 or 15 degrees tomorrow. I'll be in the city. Calgary's going to be more like 20 degrees, so pretty nice. And then the following day, it's going to get... Hi, how's it going? See, we all know each other here. So it's just fun to come down and share. So hopefully everyone can hear me all right. But nice homes. Now, about 55% of Banff is actually rental. And that's because, of course, when we became an independent municipality back in 1990, they created this ring around the town that it cannot grow larger than 4 square kilometers. And they imposed the need to reside clause. So this is where things become a little more formal. There's snow up in the Munros already. Yeah, we've got there's no sidewalk on. Well, there's kinda is, but it's a good point. These are our little neighborhood roads. In fact, I'll give you a little secret sneak I do when I'm on my road bike. Obviously, my big. Oh man, it's windy. See these spruce trees? They are just blowing like mad. But when I ride my thin tired road bike up and I have to go back up the great big hill, I sneak down this little one here. It's deeper for a little bit, but it's shorter, and I find that more efficient. So I'm at the junction of Deer and Fox. Pretty cool. And then I used to have a good friend that actually lived in one of these cottages for years. But as soon as you get down onto Banff Avenue, there are all those hotels. Now, I must, hey, nice. Now, when I do get down here, of course, we don't have Airbnb in Banff, right? And so we have so many more rules here. And I think the rules are really overall very successful for all of us because we are managing, of course, as is much of the world, record-breaking visitation. You might remember a few months ago, I was in Rome and I was staying with friends who are tour guides there. And they are booked a year out every day if they want to be right now. The flip side or the downside is I went over to the Vatican because I could see it from their flat, and there must have been 30,000 people standing there that morning. And then of course just a couple of weeks ago I was in Edinburgh Castle and I used an agent over there, but we had to book the tickets 2 months beforehand. So we're having big conversations about how to manage it all. So there's the Fox Hotel because we've just come down Fox. There's a Chili's in there, but we've almost gotten rid of all the chain restaurants in Banff, which is good news, I think. So I just have to adjust my jacket. I think it's because I'm holding the gimbal in one arm. It's falling off. But we're having that conversation. So this is a Friday night. We have Melissa's Road Run here this weekend, which is a big tradition in Banff. But yesterday, I was up at Lake Louise, of course, and I don't know if I posted a photo or not, but it was beautiful. I was up at Takaka Falls. But I just put in, I do this on Expedia every now and then just to say what's going on. If you wanted to book on Expedia Friday, Saturday night at Shadow Lake Louise this weekend, right now, right? Nothing particularly special about the weekend. It would have cost 4,600 Canadian dollars. That's about 3,500 American or something, 3,000 pounds sterling. I mean, that is one of the real challenges that I see for international tourism, because a place like this, the mandate for the national park isn't for foreign-owned hotel chains to get rich. It's for people to enjoy the natural beauty, the majesty of this land of Turtle Island, right? And so that is another one of the debates. I love seeing everyone on their bikes coming down the road. They're young people from all over the world. So tourism, and many of you do know, I do actually lecture in tourism, and I've taught different tourism courses, well, as far away as Chile and online in Africa, which is pretty cool. But tourism is also a language for development. And what we saw in the pandemic is the downside to tourism. Tourism might be the biggest employer in the world, but it tends to be smaller businesses. And so when something happens, i.e. a pandemic, so many people are affected without being able to affect the change. The lovely big trees changing up in the distance. Have a look at that. Gorgeous big aspen trees, which are popular family. So we have some birch down here in town as well, but not that many. And then all of the mountain larch have come out up in the hills, and they'll be gone within a week. Like, that's that. So we say our favorite weekend in Alberta is fall or autumn. So, that's one of the challenges with the tourism world. But tourism is also a language for development, because the infrastructure you want for tourists should be the infrastructure you want in your local community. And I think that is an important element of what we consider tourism development. And that's that language as well. Now, we live in a world, it's actually gotten a little harder to travel than it was, say, 20 years ago. But we had this kind of magic time. I think when first people moved over here from Europe, you would say goodbye to your family and never see them again, right? And then, of course, tourism was just the world of the elite or the wealthy. Or it was, very specific. Now, we can literally fly across the world. I was talking about that on the coach this morning, where for 98% of human history, you got as far in one day as you could walk, float, or a horse could take you. Now, I can get in a plane and I can be in London in 8 hours. I mean, it's really rather remarkable that it changes our movement, but it also has created, in my mind, just a wonderful diversity. So in our little community of 8,400 people here, my neighborhood of 27 houses, we have at least 6 languages spoken. That kind of diversity has really enriched the world. But we also don't want, and I think this is true for cultures all over, we don't just want our culture to be there only for tourists to look at. We want to make it part of our own culture. See, on the second floor, they've got old, long cross-country skis up there. We all have old pairs of skis in our houses. I have some 1930 skis on mine. Hey, over at the high country here, there's a brand new restaurant, and I keep meaning to go and do a video there. It's called the Fat Ox. It's Northern Italian food, and full disclosure, my neighbor owned it, and they opened it, rented the whole thing, and I went in there without telling them I was coming or anything, a few of us, and we had a fabulous meal. So I was able to genuinely say I like it without having to, pretend I like it because of my neighbor. So I'm going to have to do this one as a proper shout out at some time. And they have that big deck. It's a big cost in Banff to have a deck in front of your restaurant because our season's short enough. Summer are spectacular, as you know, but by within a couple of weeks, it'll be too cold to sit outside. Now, this is for us a cloudy day. We have 260 blue sky days. But again, wherever you are in the world, tourism is a relevant factor. Most people aspire to travel. You certainly don't have to. Some people like to stay at home, and good for them. Certainly not here to judge people's lifestyle choices that way. But it is, a town like this, we are officially a resort community. There's the Aspen Hotel and White Bark Cafe. That's probably your best latte in town. Oh, I should do a foodie one, a where to eat in Banff. I'll have to do that when Finn is down from university. By the way, people often ask about my son Finn. He is in Toronto right now. They flew last night, got a deal on Porter Airline, and he said it was bumpy for all 4 hours, but they're going to a concert. That's pretty cool. So across the street from me is the statue of the moose. I'm gonna cross over this way. So it's just nice to have something out here for this day. Lovely view of Mount Norquay up one side there. Then when I cross, we have to all be very well behaved crossing. There's okay. Now across the other side and see, yeah, a foodie, absolutely. I did write an article, a blog one time about eating, but yes, I should do a foodie one because people often ask. The hard part is, if I'm really going to do one of those blogs honestly, then I have to be honest about the ones that I don't particularly like as well. There is Mount Rundle, and it's absolute glory up there, 2,949 meters, 10,000 feet, and then little Sleeping Buffalo Mountain or Tunnel Mountain. But yes, I think we'd almost have to do one where we splice it together a little bit. But yeah, so we have 200 places to eat in a town of 8,000 people. That's another element of of being a resort community, and it's and it's fun. And people ask, because Alberta, of course, is considered so much beef country, but actually it's very, very easy to be both vegetarian or vegan here. And lots of salmon on the menus, although of course there's no salmon in the province of Alberta, but we're only an hour from the border with British Columbia. And historically, the First Nations here who had bison would trade for salmon across the Continental Divide. This is a brand new building, and this is actually local housing. It is so much choice. Now, here's one of the buses. This actual Rome bus goes all the way into Moraine Lake. 2 years ago, they banned private vehicles from going into Moraine Lake. I have to agree with that. Would I like an exclusion for being a local resident? Of course I would. This is probably the second year now that I haven't gone hiking up to Larch Valley because it's just too awkward to get in. Now, the buses aren't very expensive, but people book in advance. See that? Walk-up passengers, current reservations. These are all the conversations that we're having around the world in any major tourism places. How do you manage record-breaking numbers of people? If I step back and talk about it, I think we need to start to develop a lottery system for people to come in with priority for, say, Canadian students, kids, that sort of thing. Why I say that is right now when hotels are going for $2,000 a night, you know what? I have lots of people in my life who have been very fortunate financially. They still can't afford that. At some point, I don't want to sell off the natural beauty of these Rocky Mountains only to the people who are lucky enough to be in that 0.1%. So I think collectively we could all agree with that. Here is our mother bear and her little cub. Aren't they gorgeous? And then this view, so I'm by the high school here. And at the end of the day, it is all tourism, but we are a real community, which is pretty neat. So we're coming into the town center, but I thought that was a totally different walk than I normally do. And I am loading up in just a few minutes and taking everyone into Calgary. Now, I'm also, in my suitcase, I have my orange shirt. We have a meeting with the First Nations elder tomorrow. And then I'm actually finished this trip on the 29th, the Orange Shirt Day commemoration of all the children ripped from their families and put into residential schools is the 30th. But I might wear my orange shirt tomorrow to Calgary Public Library. Do watch, I might try and put up a tour in the city centre Calgary tomorrow. It's meant to be really nice weather, so I might try and do that. I am not a person of faith, but there is the Presbyterian church there, which is funny because we don't really have a Presbyterian church in Canada anymore. It fused with the Methodist to become the United Church. But the Korean community uses that one. And that's kind of neat as well, I think. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Just a quick little hello from Banff here on World Tourism Day. So a big hello to all my tourism friends because frankly, my driver and I this morning shook hands and happy Tourism Day. Well, you're very welcome. I know I put it up super last minute, but it's just nice to connect with everyone. But I want to get my backpack off because I'm going out for fancy dinner tonight, so I have my blazer with me. I'm a little warm, but I'm gonna head down the road and round everybody up, and then I'll head into Calgary. So, hey, ça fait plaisir. So nice to connect with everyone. Feel free to always share these anywhere you want. It's great fun. Okay, hey, all the very best. Hi, Jay. Nice to see you. Face names I recognize. So nice to see everyone here. I think when you rewatch these, you can see the chat, or you can turn it off on YouTube. But I actually watched one of mine the other day. It's really weird to watch oneself, but that's part of the game. Hey, lots of love, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.